that there is enough volatility, enough instability in the country that they take up arms and kill the Ayatollah. That is the whole purpose of the sanctions. And what's crazy about all of this is that people, on the one hand, openly justify that. And they say, well, we hate the Ayatollah, so it's good. It doesn't matter if my family members are being starved in Iran. Could you clarify? Yes. No shit. Do they also think I'm like pro Barack Obama? I was saying that it is crazy to me that the left position on Iran, or not even the left position, but like the Democratic Party's like normal position led by Barack Obama was the utilization of sanctions in exchange, like sanctions relief in exchange for like getting Iran to ease up on certain things. And the JCPOA was a objectively successful method to normalize relations with Iran. And it is, in my opinion, such a dramatic tide shift that even Bernie fucking Sanders is not running first and foremost with sanctions relief. And it's really funny that like left Twitter is yelling at me for that position, but then also all the NATO NatSec liberals are also yelling at me, including like the American Enterprise twink, the American Enterprise Institute twink from Syria that is that has never seen an American imperial domination force that he hasn't actually to, whatever his name is. And also a boner box as well. They've been like freaking the out. They've been freaking the out because they're like, sanctions relief? What do you mean you want to, what do you mean you don't want Iranian children to starve? Like, we have to liberate Iran by starving them over and over again. So there is, I've once again found the, the perfect middle ground where everyone on the left is yelling at me because they misunderstand my position, and everyone on the right is yelling at me always because they're on the right. But yeah, it's very cool. I find myself once again making a very reasonable stance here. Currently in Qatar, crashing out. Can your country please not strike Iran? We're exhausted. Yeah. I can't stop that. American foreign policy is completely outside of my control. I apologize. But good luck. Also, I'm supposed to be in Qatar soon in a couple weeks. If it's still even sustainable to go there, it kind of feels like when you see, American, the American evacuation taking place with the U.S. Air Force. I'm going to be flying Leroy Jenkins style directly in the direction of the, action, I guess. You don't even know what countries will be on the map in a couple weeks. I'd stay home, my dude. Yeah. Your Twitter language used so much, man. You got to be more succinct and clear. No, this is untrue. First of all, there's already a limitation with how many letters you can use on Twitter. I refuse to ever do a long tweet. That's number one. Number two, that's not the reason why people misunderstand you professionally on Twitter. The reason why people misunderstand you professionally on Twitter is because that's what works. Okay? What works on Twitter is people professionally misunderstanding you. And they make money off of it, as a matter of fact. And this is precisely the reason why people will continue doing that. That's it. That's the real reason. Because I could say, this happens all the time. The waffles pancakes equation is very common, right? The waffles pancakes thing is it's ironic because it first went viral on Twitter. The whole like I said, I like waffles. You said pancakes. No, I didn't. That's a whole different sentence. Is something that people used to do on Twitter all the time, and it's only gotten worse because now it's monetized. They're cooking your ass in anarcho-tribalist blue sky. Okay, like this is what people are talking about. By the way, I say any kind of left position on Iran should start with a demand that the American government end sanctions in exchange for demands of a democracy or anything else for that matter. I cannot believe that we're past this point now. Obama got the JCPOA done with sanctions relief. Of course, anything but a full-throated support for the Ayatollah and the Islamic Republic is always going to be met with a lot of anger, especially considering that the fall of the Ayatollah, the fall of the Ayatollah, or specifically the fall of the Islamic Republic, would be fantastic for Israel, right? And that's precisely what they're trying to foment here. They want to turn it into a Syria-style situation, right? You said start, that makes it completely valid. It is the start, not the limit. Exactly. And if you noticed, if you noticed, I got yelled at by people who were saying like, well, you're clearly a Mossad agent, or you're clearly laundering the liberal Zionist position or something like that. And the reason why people say that is because, like I said, anything but like a full-throated, unconditional support for the regime in this situation is seen as, as supporting Israel, which I kind of understand. Like, I'm sympathetic to that assessment because it's true. It would be beneficial for Israel, right? But my assessment on this is a little bit more nuanced, where I'm talking about like stability. I'm talking specifically about stability in Iran and maintaining sovereignty in Iran. And as I explained, there's like there's 3 pressure points here. 2 of them are obviously external and virtually impossible for the Iranian government to change, but the one is domestic. Okay? People want you to either be an interventionist who love American adventurism or be someone who defends every single action, every regime that nominally opposes the U.S. Okay, first of all, Iran doesn't nominally oppose the U.S. Iran opposes the U.S. with its entire, okay? Iran is literally the most oppositional force to the United States in the region. Let's be real. This is precisely the reason why they want to dominate it, okay? The point I'm trying to make is, the point I'm making here is that instability of any sort and without like reforms coming in, which will inevitably lead to mass instability that causes the state to collapse eventually, right? It's either going to happen in the hands of the current regime, or it's going to happen eventually in the hands of Israel and America. I would rather have it moderate in the hands of the current regime with significant reforms. Anything that moves in that direction will have a much better outcome for a trend on the line, depending on what the Iranian people want. You know what I mean? It's like, it's about maintaining sovereignty for the Iranian population. Starving the Iranian people, on the other hand, is just cruel. Iran is already liberalizing slowly. I know but that's neither here nor there. There's too much anger and resentment. Alhamdulillah, USA is going to strike a pig Khamenei, and I know even though you act like you condemn the regime, you and your tanky viewers are going to be fuming. Tanky. Brother, you can't say Alhamdulillah and then say tanky, okay? Like, what the f are you talking about? Like, what is happening here? Why are Arab posters in my chat literally using like American Western chauvinist terminology to describe a perspective? Say it with your chest, okay? I'm Iranian. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm secretly in the tank. This is what I want. On the one hand, in the United States of America, I get mad when abortion restrictions are placed on women, denying their bodily autonomy, or when trans people are under the crosshairs. Obviously, neither of those two things are actually a real issue in Iran, but let's say, gay people are in the crosshairs, right? What leads you to believe that any sort of social conservatism is something that I would be on board with? It's not, okay? It's very stupid. If I don't like any sort of social conservatism or any sort of repression in the United States of America, obviously, I'm not going to be in favor of it in Iran as well. If we're talking about foreign policy, that's an entirely separate position. Stop pretending, man. Yes, you're right. I love the Islamic Republic. I love, as a socialist, I am a big fan and super fond of arresting, imprisoning, jailing, torturing socialists and communists alike. This is my thing. This is what I like, because I'm actually a Shia Muslim. Not even like what would I be pretending here? Like, what would possibly be the thing that I'm pretending? Okay. But the IR, when China is right there, I mean, it seems you constantly dehumanize us, law. Man, bitch, shut your bitch ass up. You constantly dehumanize us. Shut your bitch ass up. I'm over here talking about trying to offer freedom to the Iranian population from the otherwise repressive nature of the state by easing up on the restrictions that are making the population suffer. And you're over here being like, no, it's actually good that mama and dada are getting destroyed in Iran because they need to take up arms and start killing security forces in the country until they deserve food. Because that's the American position. The American position in this circumstance is they don't deserve food or medicine until they actually kill the Ayatollah. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's a fucking insanely inhumane position to hold. People give you shit for your Iran takes, but I find them to be mostly fair and consistent with a belief in sovereignty and human rights. You're not an IR dick rider like the most annoying people on Twitter, or we love every bomb the U.S. drops liberal. No, I'm not.
So will...
The inhumane take is not calling for airstrikes on a murderous regime that killed 12,000 people. First of all, those are CBS numbers. And secondly, the solution is to kill more Iranians? Like, what the fuck are you saying, man? This is why earlier I was joking about Barry Weiss, or not really joking, but saying that, you know, Barry Weiss bought CBS specifically to fucking do Israel's bidding and also to be pro-Trump. And you're seeing that, okay? It's the government's own leaked figures. Yeah, you're right, dude. You're right. No, totally. It's just so stupid because, like, even what the conservative estimates are, which is around 2,000, which probably means is more than that. But even the conservative estimates are cruel and unusual. You can just say the number that most of the analysts are saying. You don't have to fucking lie at the behest of Israel, okay? It's the same exact fucking atrocity propaganda being laundered after October 7. October 7 was fucking, crazy enough. You didn't have to like make up all of this additional atrocity propaganda to be like, oh, they were actually lining up babies and chopping their heads off with a chainsaw. They were just like put the babies in a row and just whip the chainsaw over to cut all of the babies' heads or whatever. Like, why? I know why. It's because you already gave the game away. You want America to bomb Iran. And you're a fucking moron for that position, by the way. Because if anything, bombing Iran would unironically harden the position of the government. If your goal is government change, regime change in Iran, bombing Iran is only going to harden the position because Iranians want sovereignty. Iranians want sovereignty more than anything else. It's so funny that even Trump seemingly, amidst talking about how he's going to fucking invade Greenland, is demonstrating more restraint than the absolute fucking weirdos in this chat. That's what's so crazy about it. I'm Iranian, you're not. I don't give a fuck what you are, brother. I don't think you understand. Last week we did this with Venezuela, okay? Last week we did this with fucking Venezuela. Shut up. I want to have sovereignty. I want the Iranian people to be free, okay? I want Iran to have sovereignty. I want Iranian people to be free. You are demanding America strike your country. You're a fucking idiot. Okay? Sorry. You're a self-hating fucking moron. I'm of course sympathetic to the fucking people protesting against the Islamic Republic. Having said that, you know what I'm not sympathetic towards? People demanding America bomb Iran. Suck my dick. I don't give a fuck what you are. Okay? The moment that you come in here and you say, no, Mr. President, please airstrike my country, you're a fucking idiot. Not only are you a fucking idiot, like, not only are you a fucking moron of epic proportions for the first reason being that, you know, you're going to be killing your countrymen in the hands of American bombs, okay? But the other reason why you're a fucking idiot is if your goal is regime change, this is actually going to make regime change less likely. If you're Iranian, you probably know better by now that there is already a very deeply embedded parallel state that has tremendous control in Iran. What are you going to do with the IRGC? You can't just bomb the entirety of the IRGC away. It doesn't work that way. If that did work, right? Israel has tremendous espionage capabilities and assassinated so many of the fucking high-ranking IRGC officers when they were destroying Iran, when they were bombing Iran. What happened? It didn't destroy the regime at all, especially considering that the regime derives its legitimacy from the Shia population that is on board with the mullahs, that's on board with what the Ayatollah is doing. And the IRGC is the enforcement mechanism for it. It's a much more complicated situation than the one you present. And American bombs would not actually change the outcome at all. As a matter of fact, if your goal there is regime change, it's probably going to make it less likely for any sort of real regime change to take place. So shut the fuck up. I don't do standpoint epistemology when people are talking about advancing the interests of American empire. I don't give a shit. The entire purpose of the diaspora population is so that we can have a never-ending cycle of justifications for this kind of militant action. Okay? Don't do this. Wokely saying America must glass Tehran, please.
Just in the last year. These are massive.
Anyway, I don't really give a shit about what Trump is saying here. But, you missed this courtesy of the bonds. Trump, we have news about Iran that we will talk about. We have been told that the killing is stopped and there are no plans to execute protesters. I mean, he's doing the same thing he did with like Delcy Rodriguez, where he's like, if the goal is to fucking get a leverage over the regime and dominate them, then it's not advantageous for them to fucking bomb the country. I mean, they still probably will, but I haven't seen any carriers moving in the direction of Iran so far. So obviously, like, I don't know how they would do it unless they do like another American bombing campaign that starts in the United States of America and flies over. But that's usually for much more complicated, precise strikes that you go where you go after like Fordow or something. And they have bases nearby. No, that doesn't matter. If you don't have fucking carrier groups in the region, you can't defend against the Iranian retaliation. There's no guarantee that you're going to strike all of their strike capabilities, their mid-range and long-range missile capabilities, especially when there are so many fucking underground bunkers, underground facilities where they're actually making the missiles, underground facilities where they actually have a shit ton of mid-range, like surface-to-surface, like all of these different weapons that they have at their disposal. So you have to have a defensive mechanism to try to make sure that Israel doesn't get pummeled. If you're Iranian, Hasan knows what's best for Iranians. If you're Venezuelan, Hasan knows what's best for Venezuelans. If you're Mexican, Hasan knows what's best for you. If you're European, Hasan knows what's best for your particular countrymen also. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, okay? You don't have to agree with me, but don't fucking come in here and cry because you're from the place and therefore I cannot have an argument here. Okay, listen to Iranian voices, people say. Okay, Khamenei is a fucking Iranian voice. Like, this is a dumb argument. Do you understand? The Ayatollah is Iranian. You know, some people want to listen to his voice. I'm not listening to his voice, so shut the fuck up. This is why I hate this argument. Like, oh, listen to Iranian voices, please. Okay. All right, got it, dude. You know, standpoint epistemology. Okay, the Ayatollah is an Iranian voice. And it's really fucking annoying because I'm not even in favor of what this regime has done anyway. I'm not even in favor of it. And now you got me looking like I'm fucking out here being like, no, the Islamic Republic is awesome and they're great and they should continue doing the things that they're doing, when that's not even the case. But I guess that's the purpose, right? You come in here and you say some fucking stupid ass bullshit, and then I snap back at you and say, no, America glassing Tehran is not going to save anybody. As a matter of fact, it's actually going to be significantly worse. And then you clip that and you go, Hasan loved the Islamic Republic. And then the fucking drama cycle continues for your pedophilic favorite content creators out there. Dumb fucks. No, you listen to the Iranian voice that strengthens our position that is bombing Iranians. Exactly. Listen to the Iranian voices that actually want the Iranian economy to collapse even further. Otherwise, you'd be helping the regime. You'd be helping the regime. Yeah, I know, man. This is my first time dealing with American sanctions and people who justify them. I didn't realize that like most of these countries outside of the security apparatus of the United States don't actually have this kind of fucking design where sanctions on the administration doesn't actually harm or impact the economy at all. No, the entire point of the fucking sanctions is so that people are punished, so that they get so mad that they take up arms and try to fucking kill the government. It's that there is enough volatility, enough instability in the country that they take up arms and kill the fucking Ayatollah. That is the whole purpose of the fucking sanctions. And what's crazy about all of this is that people, on the one hand, openly justify that. And they say, well, we hate the Ayatollah, so it's good. It doesn't matter if my fucking family members are being starved in Iran. It doesn't fucking matter to me at all. Okay. They should what? They should fight better. Is that the argument here? I want Iranians to maintain a sovereign state. Okay. I want them to if they want to fucking continue having whatever style of government, whatever form of government they want, great. Okay. As long as they have sovereignty. Demanding American bombs is not sovereignty. The country is not sovereign because it's under the mullahs. Okay, that's fucking ridiculous. No, you don't agree, and neither do I, especially when it comes to domestic affairs, with the way that they approach their own domestic repression. There is a difference between us not agreeing with that versus sovereignty. Okay? Elections don't work, man. We've tried. I know. That's why I'm saying if the sanctions already exist, and it's like a fucking cruel measure that has actually caused tremendous punishment to the Iranian population, then one way to actually find a reasonable, manageable negotiation is to lean into what the public's discontent is, and then offer sanctions relief. I'm not a campist on this stuff, even though as far as the foreign policy of Iran goes, I know that many Iranians internally will say, oh, the reason why Iran is this way is because it's constantly meddling in the affairs of the fucking region, okay? The reason why Iran is this way is because it's funding Hezbollah, it's doing the axis of revolution, or it's funding the axis of resistance against American imperialism. And if they actually spent the money elsewhere, if they spent it here at home, we'd be in a much better situation or whatever, right? Like that's like one of the ways in which a lot of Iranians get upset with the IRGC. But I think the major problem there is still internal repression, killing protesters, things of that nature, jailing them for ridiculous offenses, made up shit. Okay? That's what you do when you're weak. That's what you do when you're a weak country. Iran might be strong when it comes to its regional politics, okay, or was, at least until this last year or last 2 years, when Israel and America basically fucking engaged in the most violent conquest that you've ever seen. But as far as it's a common sentiment around the state, yeah, I know it's a common sentiment around the state spends too much money on proxies instead of investing in the economy, not realizing that the only reason why there isn't enough money to go around in an otherwise resource-rich country is because of the fucking sanctions. And these guys don't fucking realize that even if Iran wasn't setting up these proxies in an effort to at least claw back some fucking regional autonomy from Israel, okay? Even if they weren't doing that, Iran would still get the fucking sanctions. It's so stupid. The idea that Iran, as a sovereign country outside of the fucking outside of the control of the United States of America, was never going to be punished if it wasn't for fucking Hezbollah, if it wasn't for the Ansar Allah movement, the Zaidi Shias in Yemen, or if it wasn't for the Sunnis, Hamas, that they are offering, logistics to and training to, then America would let them go. You're fucking delusional. That's not the case at all, because they still have striking capabilities. They can still strike Israel if they wanted to. Okay? That's the real problem. The real problem is America has a fucking design for this goddamn region. And that design includes a completely servile, completely dominated Arab and Iranian, all the fucking regional Arab countries either have to be perfect little vassal states like the Gulf states are, or they have to be destabilized and broken apart like Syria. You're such a weird, rigid weirdo. Two things can be true at the same time without it being propaganda. Dumb fuck, it's not propaganda. To honestly assess the fact that the Iranian government murdered thousands of his people and keeping the government in place is probably not going to work. That doesn't mean I want the fucking... Wait, what? Are you talking to me or the other person? Because, sorry, that wasn't meant for you. That was meant for another chatter. Okay, I was about to say, like, people are now arguing against positions that I do not hold. Okay, that person was talking to another chatter. Anyway. That's where we're at, though. I thought the internet was down in Iran. How are all these Iranians tuning into the stream? They're not in Iran, brother. What are you talking about? They're not tuning in from Iran, no matter how hard they say they are. They're tuning in from Westwood, Canada, and all of these other places. But this doesn't mean that there aren't fucking Iranians in Iran who are also, Iranians in Iran also have similar attitudes to the diaspora Iranians. Now, obviously, it's not as commonly shared. For example, one of the things that you see in the diaspora is MEK, support for MEK. Doesn't exist in Iran at all, okay? That's not a thing at all. Big part of the reason is because of MEK's support for Iraq. So that's gone. There is no domestic consideration for MEK at all. There are, Shah writers, okay? There are Shah writers in mostly the diaspora community. There are some people who think the Shah will actually bring a secular democracy by way of Israel and America that believe this nonsensical thing internally in Iran as well. Because for them, the only cruelty that they have seen is from the fucking Islamic Republic. They haven't seen the Shah. They don't remember what the Shah was like. They don't comprehend why the initial Iranian revolution took place to begin with, because at the time, the Shah was doing way worse shit than what the Ayatollah has done, or same things that the Ayatollah has been doing, right? So there's different camps. And there are, of course, a multitude of different opinions internally inside of Iran as well. It's easier to say, I want my country bombed when you're in diaspora. I know. Iran is a very large and very diverse country. Okay? This is the problem. Without someone controlling this entire process, it will collapse, especially with all of the external pressures. Would the ideal situation be a democratic republic of Iran that adheres to an ideology of social democracy with reforms? I mean, this is not up to me. This is not up to us at all. That's my point. You know what I mean? Like, this is not up to any of us. Like, sure, that would be great. I would love a fucking communist Iran. You know what I mean? Okay, great. But it's not up to me. This is why I always say, like, well, the Palestinians voted for Hamas. It's like, okay, well, I'm not Palestinian. You know what I mean? Hey, Iranian leftists here, we do exist. We're just not the louder voice. Yeah, part of that is because all of the domestic Iranian leftists have been destroyed. They've been killed. They've been thrown in prison. They've been tortured. And unfortunately, there's not like that prominent of a voice. And obviously, America initially deposed of Mossadegh anyway, even though he was a social democrat at most. He was a national. He wanted sovereignty. He was a nationalist first. And a social democrat second. And even that was too much for America. So obviously none of the fucking people from the diaspora are going to be in any way, shape, or form a part of any of the, pro-Soviet bloc Iranians or any of the other, non-aligned socialist Iranians. They're not. It's all going to be mostly Shah supporters and I guess the closest you can get to is MEK. The closest you can get to like a socialist Iranian in the diaspora is going to be Rudolph Giuliani and John Bolton, two prominent lobbyists for the terror group that is known as MEK, which at some point was, I guess, socialist. Anyway, I believe Mossadegh was greatly alienated as he was at odds with the monarchists and Islamic fundamentalists who rallied against them both or were bribed by foreign actors to be against them. No, he was the monarchist first and foremost, but what's crazy to me is that in spite of the initial takeover in Iran, the Ayatollah for all of its the mullahs, the Ayatollahs for all of their fucking regressive attitudes about domestic policy have still, to the best of their ability, tried to focus on making sure that the Iranian population is educated and whatnot. So there is like, there is tremendous repression at the same time, but this creates this weird juxtaposition where you are creating an incredibly well-educated population with access to the internet, and they see all of the beauties of liberalism and freedoms and whatnot. And obviously they're going to be like, I want that. The fuck do you mean I can't have that? That's stupid. That's bullshit, right? Hold on. Doors open. My people are getting killed and you still defend them? Man, shut the fuck up. I'm not defending them. Jesus Christ, you're so fucking stupid. Please. Listen to my words. Why isn't... Doors open! Bro, this little lady thinks she's a damn guard dog, okay? Every time there's delivery throughout the day, she perks up, she starts growling, she thinks she's it. It's crazy. She's a damn guard. She's not a damn guard dog. She's a damn guard bear. Okay? A warrior. She about to show the robbers where to look, but first the fridge. Anyway, Kaya has a warrior ethos. True. So she's a cop? In some ways, yes. Listen to Kaya's voices. Listen to the Kaya voices in the chat. My grandpa was hardline Shah loyalist to Iran during the revolution, but refused to leave the country, resulting in him being in jail for 9 months. I still don't understand his loyalty, but at least he had the intelligence to understand the U.S. was not to be trusted and only ever wanted a real sovereignty for the country. I guess a lot of domestic Iranians are like that. Don't trust any diaspora Iranians that support the Pahlavis, though. No, I don't. Diplomats have sought guarantees from Lebanese armed group Hezbollah that it would not take military action if the United States or Israel carried out an attack on Iran. A Lebanese source familiar with the group's thinking told Reuters on Wednesday. The source said that the Iran-backed group was approached through diplomatic channels last week. Hezbollah did not offer explicit guarantees, but has no plans to act if the strike on Iran is not existential for Iran's leadership, the source added. Anyway, so my point is, I want, and I keep repeating this over and over again, and I know that people will not understand this because they can only approach the situation through black and white thinking. I don't want American bombs. I don't want American sanctions. I want the Iranian population to be able to if they are slated to do a revolution, it will never not be impacted by Western forces. It's going to happen. But ultimately, the best path forward to maintain Iranian sovereignty is going to happen if there is an organized like next step forward government that they already have, because everything beyond that will turn into fucking complete chaos, especially considering that there are also the defenders of the Ayatollah. There's a fairly sizable population. Like those pro-government protests, people say, oh, there's fucking people from Pakistan, people from Afghanistan are bust in for those protests. Like, no, there are real fucking people who love the Islamic Republic. Like, you have to deal with those people. You got the IRGC. Like, whether we like it or not, the disagreements in terms of domestic affairs, whether we have our own understandable disagreements with how the domestic affairs of Iran must be conducted, those people are in the tens of millions, and they got fucking guns. They have a military. They have the IRGC. They have these security forces. What do you think happens in that situation? What do you think happens when the state collapses? When the state collapses, what do you think happens? Do you understand? I think that there is a separate secret reason as to why they keep saying this, by the way, because Channel 14 reported that foreign actors are arming the protesters in Iran with live firearms, which is the reason for the hundreds of regime personnel killed. Everyone is free to guess who is behind it. Now, this is like a fucking, close to Benjamin Netanyahu right-wing channel in Israel saying this out loud. You won't see a lot of people covering this in American news, of course, because they don't want to act like there's any interference whatsoever from Israel. But Israel wants to make it seem like they are directly interfering. Mike Pompeo has said Mossad is out there on the streets, right? So why are they doing that? Because under different circumstances, they don't take credit for it until after the fact, right? They don't say that they're doing it in the process. And the reason why I think they're doing it is because they want to goad the Iranian government, the Iranian regime, to be as militant and as violent as possible against otherwise normal-ass protesters who aren't fucking Mossad, okay, who aren't getting armed by Mossad. And when that happens, then you have, for every person that you kill, you have 10 to 100 other people that will also take up arms and seek out revenge, okay? That's it. That's what I think. Do they have outside agitators? Of course they do, but they don't have as much. I don't think they are as powerful as the way that they're claiming they are in this circumstance. Like, that is the reason why I think it's like Mossad spurs Iran protest, says Asians with demonstrators in a Farsi message. This only benefits, like this only gives just cause to the Iranian government to do whatever the fuck they want to do, to slay as many people as they want to. This creates more violence. It gives them just cause to engage in violent action, because now it's like outside agitators. See, they're fucking openly admitting it. I think the reason why they're greatly overemphasizing their involvement in these protests is because they want the regime to eat the bait and start fucking slaughtering people, as they did, okay? And they did do that. It's a way to cause more chaos. And it's a way to cause, it's a way to create even a larger force of people that will throw their bodies on the line, okay? Remember the clip culture we watched yesterday? A perfect example here. What is this? 2,000 to 5,000 dead protests. Anybody else find poetry in that? Breaking. Hasan Parker says the thousands of Iranians murdered by Islamic Republic is poetry. I didn't say that at all. That's fucking insane. What the fuck is happening? It's an 18-second clip. It's so stupid. Like, you like Khamenei tweet when he's responsible for killing so many people? Listen, sometimes you can find poetry in the strangest places. Yeah, Persian. I am Persian. Like, this is not even from, this is before. Yeah, it's just he's lying. This is before the actual fucking protests were violently squashed, by the way. I don't stream 18 seconds at a time. You're not gonna beat the allegations. Beat the allegations of what? Suck my fucking dick. Yeah, dude. I'm a paid propagandist for the fucking Islamic Republic. Who gives a shit? I don't care. Whatever. There are people who are adults who are capable of understanding fucking nuance, and then there are people who just want to simply yell and act as though they are winning some fucking internet argument or something. None of what we say ultimately matters, unfortunately. I think Pompeo tweeting about Mossad operatives in the streets was a part of an effort to make security forces even more paranoid and brutal because of the deadlier the crackdown, the deeper the crisis, and it worked, and you have to be a rube not to understand this. I mean, I take it for granted there's all kinds of covert CIA and Mossad are up to as well as Iran, come on, but part of the intel script for things like this is projecting force and inevitability beyond what you really have. Other accounts of this I have seen are just brain dead sorry. Do people really think the former head of the CIA just casually outed a bunch of assets on X on the everything app to gloat the shitpost? Be serious? So you're telling me Pompeo didn't tweet out actionable intelligence days before the protest expanded? Beats me. I always thought if you have secret agents embedded in a protest movement, you should tweet about it ahead of time. I mean, he's being sarcastic. But like, I do think it's interesting that they are doing that. I do think it's interesting that America and Israel are doing that, okay? Like the Jerusalem Post article that came out being like, oh yeah, we have all of our assets on the streets. They have been unlocked. Okay? I respected you a lot more when you stopped running ads. People should be able to see you aren't this paid propagandist. Exactly. I don't run ads. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. You might sometimes disagree with what I'm saying. You might agree with what I'm saying. History oftentimes does vindicate me. But at the end of the day, it is your subscriptions. It is your subscriptions that sponsor the show. What is this? Here's a clip from yesterday when you're talking about how Iran is very cruel for killing protesters. 2,000 is enough for it to be insane. Why do these people always have to make it even higher? Well, it's the same as like October 7. You could have just looked at October 7 and been like, this is a fucking catastrophe. How do we get here? But it didn't matter. They had to be like, they're decapitating babies while raping them, you know? It's just, it doesn't, like the truth is not enough. They have to literally, they have to do atrocity propaganda. Israel kills hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. That's nothing. That's just, you know, the cost of doing business. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about that, right? Iran, on the other hand, they've killed 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. Is not actually Vanilla Mace. I have like random fucking people that put me in their stupid fucking group chats on Instagram. And for some weird reason, even though it doesn't show up on my actual Instagram DMs, when I turn on Instagram desktop, it shows random fucking Stan accounts and the conversations that they're having. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just, Instagram is busted, okay? Anyway, let's get back to Trump for a second. I got to go.
They were shooting at them with guns and they were shooting back. And, you know, it's one of those things. But they told me that there'll be no executions. And so I hope that's true.
Does this mean military action is now off the table against Iran?
Processes, but we were given a very good statement by people that are aware of what's going on.
Is that considering military action? Is that still a threat?
No executions. Everybody's talking about a lot of executions were taking place today. We were just told no executions. I hope that's true. That's a big thing. Yes, ma'am.
The Foreign Minister of Greenland, she said a while ago in a press conference in an embassy of Denmark that she made very clear in the meeting that happened here in the White House what are their limits. She also said that it was a very respectful meeting. Are those limits going to be respected?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Greenland. We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens. They're going to brief me on the meeting right after this conference. In fact, the sooner I get you out, the faster I'm going to know exactly what happened. But we have a very good relationship with Denmark, as you know. We'll see. But, you know, we're doing the Golden Dome. We're doing a lot of things, and we really need it. If we don't go in, Russia's going to go in and China's going to go in. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it, but we can do everything about it.
There's no more than what they can do than
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, we're going to see what happens, but we need it. You know, I'm not the first one. This was talked about by President Truman, and 40 years before President Truman they were talking about it. They've been talking about this for 100 years. This is not anything so new. A lot of people don't realize that, but this was a hot subject. Probably not as hot as it is now, but it was a hot
Trump sounded satisfied. No executions, possibly no military action, or is this a ruse? With Trump, you never know. With Trump, you never know, because he does end up leaning in a certain direction as a way to misdirect, as to get people to focus on something else. But
happened and why Planned Parenthood is receiving any.
There is one thing that you can always count on, though. He will suck Israel's dick. So if they're not bombing Iran right now, it's probably because Israeli intelligence is saying don't bomb Iran yet. And I assume the only reason why they wouldn't bomb Iran is for the same reasons that I mentioned. Why are the phones down, newsboy? What do you mean? Oh, you mean the Verizon? I don't know. He will always suck Israel's cock on whatever the fuck is related to the region. And I suspect that the reason why Israel wouldn't want Iran to be bombed yet is because they think it will harden the support for the regime, because Iranians fucking hate, obviously, being bombed. Iranians don't like being bombed. No one likes being bombed. Iranians are a magical, mystical people, very stubborn, very proud people who hate getting blown up. Because right now, as it stands, there's already so much discontent, so much anger. This is not the end of the protests, okay? It's stopped for now. But people will understandably vow revenge. They will seek out revenge. There will be more organizing. There will be more anger. There will be more resentment. That's why I keep saying something's got to give, okay? That's it. Yeah, why don't the Iranians realize that if they stopped resisting and complied, that things would get better? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand, right? Just like ICE. Just like ICE in America. Why don't they just stop resisting? Oh, I forgot. Everyone that's saying that in America is saying the opposite in Iran. I forgot. Right-wingers with their consistent position here. They're truly in favor of a free Iran. Except, ironically enough, that when they talk about like religious oppression or religious repression that the Ayatollahs are committed to, they want to do that in America, but Christian style. Actually, probably even worse. They don't want women to fucking read. They don't even want women to go to school. They want it fucking Taliban style, not Ayatollah style. But, in the Christian way. Yeah, this is... Ma'am, your government just shot a woman in the face. Smoke them if you got them. America does love a good... America does love when their foreign adversaries engage in like horrible shit, though, because then they can just for once posture as though they're the good guys. You know what I mean? This is what happened in Ukraine. Like, the reason why I think so many liberals and so many Republicans like leaned into the Ukraine stuff early on, like aggressively, it was not because they care about like the righteous emancipation of Ukrainians from Russian invaders or whatever. It was because like it ultimately gave them an opportunity to fucking be morally superior for once. That was what it is. And it's the same with like Iran too. They just like hold on to this idea that like, there are worse governments out there. See, we're not as bad. WAPO is reporting that Iran and Israel spoke via Russia, guaranteeing that they would not strike each other. What do you make of this? I don't fucking know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like everything that we see, all the bits and pieces of information that comes out of this situation is going to be beneficial for somebody who I do not know. But anyway, can please one of the HasanAbi industrial complex clippers post what he said this morning about Greenland? I missed it and not sub to rewind. Well, Audrey, you got to subscribe. You got a subscription. So now you can rewind. And all of you can rewind as well if you subscribe to the Parker Broadcasting Service. ITV News political editor Robert Peston. There's a signal tonight that the British government, that unspecified U.S. Trump action against Iran is imminent. I don't understand. Maybe it's a fucking debate. Maybe Trump is saying we're not going to do it. But that's just like a bait and switch. I wouldn't put it past him. He's done it many, many times over. So who knows? I will say this, though. I could see Israel and Iran secretly reassuring one another that they're not going to strike each other, because I don't think Israel is as defensive as you think Israel is. Like, I think Iran in the 12-day war, a lot of people actually covered that as like, total Israel annihilation. Iranian forces were destroyed. They were embarrassed, all this stuff, right? And there is some truth to how ridiculous the opening salvo was, right? Because Israel had penetrated the Iranian government so deeply that they were able to like destroy anti-aircraft weapons immediately before they started bombing campaigns, right? Having said that, if you think that Israel is not being more restrained because they don't want to get fucking pummeled again like they did last time, you would be wrong. Okay. Now, on the one hand, they are America is pulling its Air Force troops out of the Qatar base, so maybe Qatar gets hit again. I don't know, as like a reasonable solution, like a middle ground solution here. No Israel getting striked. Iran gets hit one time, precise targeted strike on key regime guys or something, and then Iran turns around and like strikes Qatar again, right? Something along those lines. I don't know. But remember, this is important. Stockpiles of interceptors are still severely depleted since the war 6 months ago. Triggering a wide response from Iran risks unnecessary depleting the stockpile even further. With the lack of any major naval assets, they won't have VLS-launched SM interceptors available either. That's why I said if you don't have American carriers in the region, even though there were American carriers in the region, they still could not sufficiently defend Israel, and their stockpiles were depleted. Last time Iran was fucking pummeling Israel, there is 0% chance, like either they get assurances from Iran that they're not going to, either they got assurances from Iran that Iran is not going to strike Israel again and punish Israel again, or they're gonna strike and be insane about it. Who knows? They need a lot more assets to be in the region, many of which moved to Venezuela, off the coastline of Venezuela right now. So it's not even about like taking out Iranian capabilities. It's more so about defending Israel. From what I've seen, there are still no indications of a buildup for CENTCOM. Diego Garcia is empty, and Alidate only has a few C-17s visible on satellite imagery. I still think a limited strike is possible, but nothing major like a decapitation. Current assessments by Israeli media is that Israel, does not anticipate being attacked by Iran regardless of what happens, which may also offer a clue. Ynet claims that the occupation army is more concerned with Ansar Allah at the moment. Stockpiles of interceptors are still severely depleted since the war 6 months ago, triggering a wide response from Iran, risks unnecessarily depleting the stockpile even further. The evacuation of Al Udeid that people are talking about is actually just a posture change. A forced evacuation was what happened before the Midnight Hammer retaliation. That's not happening yet. New York Times confirmed a few minutes ago that there are still only 3 missile-firing destroyers in the Middle East region. Maariv is now falsely attributing a claim to New York Times that a carrier is making its way to the Red Sea. They seem to be confusing the USS Roosevelt destroyer with the USS Theodore Roosevelt carrier. I have a feeling Americans will use submarines. America did use submarines when they were striking Israel, but on a defensive posture, you need carriers because you need missile launchers that are intercepting. You need carriers that have missile launchers that will fire off missiles that will intercept long-range ballistic missiles that Iran is lobbing in Israel's direction. The Iron Dome, in and of itself, without American intervention, without American support, without American defenses, is clearly incapable of stopping Iran from being able to strike Tel Aviv. We saw that. Okay? It's not carriers, it's cruisers and destroyers. Sorry, not carriers. You're right. Oh, U.S. striking Israel? Sorry. I meant submarines were utilized when striking Iran. American submarines were utilized when they hit Iran, but submarines don't have the same defensive capabilities as all of these different assets do. Whether it be carriers or cruisers, like all these different naval assets that America has at its disposal that have missile launching capabilities that work to intercept Iranian ballistic missiles that are flying in the direction of Tel Aviv. Yes, I know it's not just the Iron Dome, it's the Aero systems as well. When I say Iron Dome, I'm using it colloquially. I'm talking about all of the different defensive capabilities that Israel has. I'm using it as a broader umbrella term. I don't mean just the Iron Dome, which is Tamir interceptors that are good for like drones and shit. I'm talking about the Aero system too, like Aero 3. There are probably enough air assets to do DCA ops over Iraq, Jordan, etc. Yes, but you're talking about striking Iranian strikers before they actually lob missiles in Israel's direction. That's very different because there's no guarantee. As we saw last time, Israel can fly over Iraq. Israel can fly over Syria. Israel can fly and get refueled in the process and go strike Iran. But clearly, when they did that, Iran was still capable of lobbing fucking even hypersonics that actually struck Tel Aviv. Do you see what I mean? So although Israel's modus operandi has always been the best defense is a good offense, clearly a good offense was not enough to stop Iran from being able to strike Tel Aviv. No, I'm talking about shooting down missiles with fighters, DCA, defensive counter air. Even then, it didn't work, is what I'm saying. Bro, please learn the definition of a hypersonic. Saying this is a missile sexual. Okay, I'm sorry. Fast ones that go boom, boom. But fast enough to penetrate through the ballistic defense capabilities that they have. There was a now deleted post on True and on Reddit that the lack of missile interceptor stocks was the reason for Trump's Raytheon tweets. I don't know about all that, but anyway, so this is where we're at with Iran, Israel, and the United States of America. So when Trump says like, oh, Iran gave me assurances that they're not actually going to kill any more protesters, that the deaths are done for now, that might just be a lie, right? And I don't mean that might be a lie that like Iran might continue killing protesters or whatever. I mean like that might be a way for Trump to say, oh, we're not going to do anything to Iran. Just kidding, you know, because he's done this before. So who knows? Would China or Russia come to Iran's aid this time? Most likely not. Russia is still stretched thin and not likely to do anything outside of Eastern Europe. China is hesitant to get involved in anything that will mess up their access to international markets. Yeah, I mean, this to a certain degree is Iran's fault as well, because Iran's foreign policy posture has always been, I think, too invested in sovereignty for their own personal benefits. Because the Iran-Chinese relationship has never been as comprehensive as like the Iranian-Russian relationship has been. So, you know, this is China. China is always incredibly fucking restrained. And who knows if China repeatedly offered to sell Iran weapons previously, but Iran always refused. Yeah, Iran low-key has been kind of weird about working with China. It was, if anything, like normally I would say China is too restrained and China is kind of shitty for that reason. Or maybe it's actually the smart posture from China to you know, only trade max or whatever. But the reality of the matter is, Iran has also refused to have more Chinese involvement on Iranian soil. They have been stupid to not get Chinese weapons. Well, so people will say, like this chatter, the Iranian arms industry is insanely self-sufficient, but it has also meant that they don't have the latest tech and air defenses. For example, the reason for why Iran has refused Chinese weapons is not because they're self-sufficient. The reason why they refuse it is because Chinese weapons come with more Chinese contracts, which come with more reliance on China, and Iran wants to maintain its sovereignty. But yeah, here is Lawrence Norman from Wall Street Journal. Utter confusion, uncertainty about what's going on now with Iran among various senior diplomats. After Trump's statements about how Iran promised me that they're done with the executions, now everyone is confused. I don't blame Iran for not trusting China. China folds anytime U.S. attacks a country where they have investments in. No. You are too harsh on Iran. We literally have admitted evidence that Israel is supplying protesters in Iran. There have been explosions of shootings from the protesters. Can you imagine what America would be doing to protesters if China was supplying bombs, weapons, and fueling violent anti-Trump protests on American soil? Yes, I know, but I would also just as fucking readily criticize the American government for its brutality as I am the Iranian government, okay? I'm going to be fair in this situation while still being cognizant of the external factors at play here, okay? If I was a leader that wanted to remain sovereign and existed outside of the U.S. security apparatus, I would 100% leverage my relationship with China. 100%. It's a matter of survival. I would obviously try to get nukes as fast as possible. I mean, China has the most fucking... I mean, not China, sorry. Iran has maximum engineering. Like, you don't got one guy that knows how to fucking enrich uranium? Like, what are we doing? You don't got, and then beyond enriching uranium, then you have the intercontinental ballistic missile, like strike capabilities that you need to develop as well. That's a whole nother ordeal, but you got engineers out the ass. You got so many fucking engineers. I know Israel keeps killing them, but like you got so many engineers, man. It's the engineer country, okay? It's the bricklaying country and it's the engineering country. People, what are you talking about? Everyone knows someone who's been killed by this regime. Why do you believe this regime's propaganda? I don't know what you're referencing here. But if you think Trump believes what Iran is saying, I don't think he is. I think he's posturing to... I mean, there's a couple different options here, right? Okay, look, there's a couple different options here. I think Sina had a decent take on it. Where is it? Where the fuck is it? Hold on. You know, I'm doing my listening to Iranian voices thing here. Okay, where is it? Or no, it wasn't Sina. It was Trita Parsi. Okay, Trita Parsi says much indicates now that a U.S.-Israeli war with Iran is imminent. I see three scenarios. One, a limited strike, mainly symbolic, so that Trump can claim victory and then move on the talks. No, I was thinking of Sina Tusi, but I mixed it up. Okay, it's Trita Parsi, not John Cena chatters. Shut the fuck up. Two, regime decapitation by attacking most, but not all, political and IRGC leaders, but with the aim of having someone else from within the system take over afterwards in order to avoid instability, followed by a deal manifesting Iranian capitulation. This is the Venezuela option, but I think that that's also different than Venezuela regardless. Three, a combination of two, but with massive bombardment of Iran's military capabilities afterwards to ensure that Iran is set back decades and cannot pose any challenge to Israel for the foreseeable future. Think Syria after Assad fell. Of these three, I find option one very unlikely. The argument against option two is that the Israelis would not accept it. Netanyahu has been very silent publicly, which he probably would not have been if option two was the one favored by Trump. Where the fuck was it? Hold on. Where'd it go? I lost it. Did I move it around? Where the fuck is it? Oh, here it is. Yeah, John Cena. I can't find it. Okay. Trita Parsi is the executive vice president of the Quincy Institute, by the way. Okay. The argument against option two is that Israelis would not accept it. Netanyahu's been very, very silent publicly, which he probably would not have been if option two was the one favored by Trump. The argument against option three is that it would likely require far more U.S. assets in the region, and we do not see that, at least not quite yet. Of course, plans rarely survive contact with reality. Plenty of reasons why things won't play out the way as the U.S. and Israel may have intended, including, of course, how Iran responds/retaliates. Any chance Trump is using the Iran stuff as a distraction as he's going to move on to Greenland? Well, the degree of priority here is always eating Israel's dick as hard as he possibly can. So Iran will probably be a much more consequential thing for Donald Trump because it's much more consequential for Israel. Trump is all... Look, when all else fails, remember, Trump will deep throat Israel's cock every single time. And as much as this is frustrating to hear from the Iranian diaspora chatters in here, the Iranian population and their best interests are not a consideration here when America and Israel are making these deals. So no matter how hard they try to sell this idea to you, or no matter how hard you fucking hate the Islamic Republic, and I don't put that past you at all, okay? The reality of the matter is America and Israel do not give a fuck about the Iranian population. They give a fuck about Israel. They give a fuck about Israel dominating the region for American interests and protecting American investments. And Iran is a major factor that holds the Israeli incursions back. Western leaders and mainstream media rallied behind the perfidy. Come on, man. Of course, they're not going to say that when they will strike in June, they did it while negotiations were ongoing and a lot of people believed it was going to work. No, I know. That's why I'm saying I think Donald Trump stating that you know, the killing has stopped doesn't mean that they're actually not going to strike. Yeah, could be backing off, could be trying to dupe Iranians amid reports of potential imminent attack, though ultimately such statements are unlikely to alter realities on the ground or Iranian calculations in a meaningful way. Check logs. Like, you had Morandi spreading propaganda with little criticism. Both internet and Twitter is blocked by Iran, but how is dude on Twitter being the government mouthpiece, and yet you haven't heard and shown a single journalist from the other side showing the regime's cruelty? Check logs. No, I have. And also, do you think this position is not sufficiently covered by both every single fucking Western media, every single Western media outlet that we've watched? I've watched probably 12 videos on Iran yesterday, and 11 out of the 12, including the one that you're talking about that had Morandi speaking, had people who were very critical and completely against the regime. Every single fucking video that we watched, with the exception of the one piece where Morandi was speaking, was anti-fucking Islamic Republic. The reason why you're mad is that there was any mention of the Islamic Republic side at all. That's the reason why you're upset. How can you say that I haven't fucking sufficiently covered, and not only sufficiently covered, but also specifically, personally fucking criticized the Islamic Republic myself? The only reason why you're mad is because there's any mention at all of the pro-regime talking point, a pro-Islamic Republic spokesperson that was mentioned at all. That's it. Yes, I know. I'm not saying you're doing selective for years with correct attitude that Israel's doing a genocide, but when Iran is doing somewhat the same thing, it's not the same thing. That's fucking ridiculous. You talk like a politician who cares about the stability of Iran or how they have to be a sovereign nation. You want to play fair. They're going to the hospital and arresting the wounded. I'm not subbed. I can't send links to vids. There is no amount of fucking cruelty that the Islamic Republic has not done in this process. They are doing that. Okay, they're doing it nonstop. And it's not something that I've actually hidden at all. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why a lot of people to my left on Twitter are getting mad at me and saying I'm actually, normalizing intervention or something like that. Of course, I care about the stability and sovereignty of Iran. I want Iran not to be fucking Syria. I want Iran not to be Libya. I want Iran to be Iran. And if the Iranian population is able to bring about a democratic, secular Iranian republic, then that's fucking awesome. I love that. That's what I want. I want what's best for the Iranian people. I don't want the Iranian people to be fucking repressed and have to deal with not only the economic sanctions and the impact that has, but also the unimaginable amounts of repression from the Islamic Republic. As long as America doesn't help them, America will never help them. America will never help Iran. The entire reason why the revolution took place in Iran is because of America helping Iran in 1953, okay? Shut the fuck up. America does not help its allies. America is talking about invading Greenland, and you're over here being like, well, what about a foreign adversary? You think America gives a fuck about dead Muslims, dude? What level of delusion are we on? It's not like the Trump administration is saying that they're invested in helping Iran anyway. They're talking about bombing Iran. They've been starving Iran, and now they want to fucking bomb it, and you're over here talking about America's going to help them. America doesn't even help Americans. And you're over here thinking that they give a fuck about Iranian people? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? They don't even fucking care about Americans. They care about a hand-selected pedophilic elite. That's it. And their fucking profit interests. That's the only thing America cares about. And it's the same fucking argument. Like, we got to free Gaza from Hamas. That's what Israel was saying. Like, Israel gives a shit about the Palestinians. Do you need America to fucking wipe out Tehran until you realize, okay, maybe America wasn't actually invested? Like, what are we talking about? A lot of this conversation revolves around the hidden notion that people accept, the reality that people accept that America is the hegemonic superpower. So you just have to be fucking servile little piggy to America's interests, no matter how ruthless or cruel they get. Otherwise, look at the situation in Iran. Sanctions freed Iran. Yes. Yeah. American sanctions, they liberated Iran. They liberated Iranian children from their life. That's how we are liberating Iran. Because ultimately, what's so crazy about this is that Americans, by and large, are basically stating, okay, Westerners in general are basically stating that the Iranians need to be sufficiently starved. Okay? They need to be sufficiently starved so that they can get angry enough to kill the Ayatollah. And if you don't kill the Ayatollah, sorry, you're going to get starved even further. And there are people in the diaspora that are fine with this. Okay? There are people in the diaspora who also will defend it. It's no different than the way that Cubans in America will say, we have to bomb Havana. We have to bomb Cuba. We have to bomb Cuba to liberate Cuba. The ones that defend the sanctions in America are the Cuban Americans that say, no, sanctions on Cuba is good. The trade embargo on Cuba is good. This is how we will bring about democracy. All you're doing is advocating for a regime that you fucking despise, continuing any sort of fucking repressive, any sort of like repressive act that they will engage in, and unironically increasing the fucking cruelty as a matter of survival and as a matter of sovereignty. You're hardening the position of the base of support that these governments have. And I'm not even comparing Cuba to Iran right now, okay? But all you're doing in that situation is just like starving people further. It blows my fucking mind. I don't understand it. Where'd you get the bear fur mat? Kaya. It's a movable one. It's a new type of rug that moves. Kaya. Place. Yeah, it's an AI rug. What are you looking at, huh? What are you looking at? Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah. Also, Unk caught a stray here as well. Just now, ex-Canadian Parliament member threatens to hunt opposition. Goldie Gamari to Cenk Uyghur in Farsi then English. Don't worry, when the regime is over, we will come after you. Bro, these guys think they are Israel, by the way. That's one of the funniest things I've seen is like, there are some of these people who like think they're literally Israel. Like, you're not Israel, little bro.
Let me ask Rob a question. Hey, is Israeli
دیگران
puppet, hold on a
نباش بیشتر
second.
وقتی که رژیم
Okay,
عوض
can
شد
I
میان
ask Rob a
سراغ
All right,
question?
don't talk over each other.
Yeah, Israeli
when the
puppet,
regime
blah,
is
blah,
Don't
blah,
talk
blah.
over
I got
each
it.
other,
We're gonna
please.
come after
Hey,
you,
Rob,
don't worry.
when you do enough military,
Yeah, she goes, when the regime is, don't worry, when the regime is over, we will come after you. Cenk is now being targeted by both the Shah writers and Mossad. Fucking awesome. I don't know why Cuck Todd is there, by the way. That's a crazy addition. If one person commits high treason and espionage, calling on adversaries to attack America, they would face capital punishment under U.S. law, and all Americans are okay with it. Why the hypocrisy? Come on, you know why. Unk is in the trenches, getting death threats from Stephen Miller, getting death threats from the son of Hamas, who is a Mossad asset, getting death threats from the Iranian Shah writers too. It's awesome. He's just catching it on every end here. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, we got the diplomatic guarantees. Kaysan says, I'm Iranian. My parents were born and raised in Iran. Had to leave when the Shah was overthrown. The revolution happened. Was currently happening and has been happening in Iran for years and years. Absolutely heartbreaking. Women were being killed for not covering up, but you didn't hear about the government murdering anyone who didn't agree with their dictator actions and laws given at any moment. You didn't hear about it. You see, this is what most people don't understand. This isn't about religion. This isn't about what side you choose to be on. This is about a freedom from a country who wants to be free from a tyrant regime, a country who's currently standing up to this tyrant regime and has their entire internet and any communication cut out completely. Now imagine if this happened in America. What would you think or say? Those who are standing up are dying. Young, innocent adults who are standing up for what's right. The citizens of Iran are amazing people. Some of the most kind, big-hearted, selfless people you will ever meet in your life. Please, and I mean please, do not take this message to think about this is something else. This isn't about another country. This isn't about another religion. This is simply freedom and standing up for what is right. I pray for the people of Iran. I pray for my family. I pray for those peace in the entire world. Love you. Okay? Verizon is having nationwide outage. Yeah, that's not the same as like the government fucking cutting off all internet. Okay. Before everybody yells at Kaysan or any number of different people, okay, you have to understand. There are literally plenty of people that have actively that have been called the regime enjoyers on Twitter. People that I know, okay, for their position against Israel, who are Muslim, who are Shia, who come from that background, who also have similar attitudes to Kaysan, okay? And the reason for, and they're much, they're very well-read people, they're organizers, they're activists. One must ask the question, why? Are they all Mossad operatives out of nowhere? No, of course not. The reason for why, and I guess like I have it's not to the same degree, but I do, as a person who grew up in Turkey, I have a unique perspective on this, as opposed to like, I don't know, dumbass Americans, where I do understand why young people especially would want liberalism, okay? Like young people in a place like Iran would want to be rid of a lot of the repressive forces within the government. And my statement here is, in order for Iran to maintain its sovereignty, that repression needs to go away. Okay, bro, you're in a marabou. Please stop. I know, but I contain multitudes. It's hard for some people to understand America isn't the only negative force in the world. Listen. The reason why a lot of people get very sensitive about this kind of statement is because a lot of anarchists and a lot of fucking pro-regime change people or pro-Western intervention people will use that as a talking point. Will use that as a talking point in a very unnuanced manner to justify American or Israeli intervention. I'm not doing that at all. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply stating that if there are, as I've described, 3 different points of pressure, the number one point of pressure being the economic sanctions, which is Western intervention. The number 2 point of pressure is like the leaky faucet that is an angry Iranian population that is more and more willing and able and interested in working with Israeli intelligence or American intelligence. And then the 3rd point of pressure is the actual repression committed by the government. There's only one thing you can actually control. If you are the Islamic Republic, there's one thing you can actually fucking control. So if you truly have any sort of nationalistic sentiment in your heart, okay, if you truly want to maintain sovereignty, okay, what is this? What's the difference? Lamau, anarchist, fuck off. Okay, calm down. Calm down. My point is, the only thing that is in control of the regime in this circumstance is to abide by the demands being made by a lot of these people. You can either say, oh, they're all fucking ridiculous. They're all Mossad, which is what the government is currently doing. The Iranian regime is saying, oh, they're all Mossad. They're all CIA. And there is evidence that some of them are actually at least getting armed by Mossad or the CIA. Having said that, there is a fuck ton of people in Iran that are understandably frustrated, that are capable of taking up arms. These are not Israelis that are fucking killing security forces. These are Iranians that are killing the Iranian security forces. Okay? And Israel does not have a hypnosis beam, or CIA does not have the capabilities of like hypnotizing Iranians into taking up arms against their own government. They can only take advantage of the instability, and the instability that is oftentimes born out of the economic pressures that they've subjected the Iranian government to. Having said that, there is a very real reason for why people are understandably fucking pissed off. It's a tad more nuanced than that because, yes, even in Sudan's revolution in 2019, we wanted liberalism, or rather secular civilian-led government. Most people very much understood that it'll always be strictly Sudanese civilian-led government with no external influence whatsoever. That's why we now hate the civilian prime minister during the transitional period who sold out. There would be no talk about repression if there were no sanctions. How often do you hear about the Saudi repression when their government is even more repressive? Yes, but it doesn't matter because the sanctions already exist. Okay? That's it. It's that simple. And you can't change that. So you have to work within the confines of you have to work within the confines of reality. Okay? You can't just close your eyes. If you're a government that wants to maintain sovereignty, you can't work with what you wish was happening in the world. Okay? You have to work with what is happening to you. It's that simple. Like, their economy is still going to suck even if they had social liberalism. Their economy is still going to be in the shitter even if they have social liberalism, at which point you have to make different foreign policy decisions. Lean into China, for example, okay? But that comes after you actually maintain stability in the country, a country that is actually on fire, a country that is on fire for good reason. Beyond the external pressures, there is a valid fucking reason for why a lot of the Iranian youth would be fucking, are understandably angry. You are such a lib on this? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. There's a reason why here the revolution that top hold a 30-year dictatorship was successful only when it was by the Sudanese people with no foreign intervention. We were killed in the hundreds and the internet was shut off as well. That didn't stop us. What's the solution then? They don't have enough firepower to take over the government and the regime is not going to reform. What happens when you release sanctions and they give that money to the terrorist organizations they fund? First of all, I'm going to be very real with you, okay? This argument is incredibly stupid because you're saying the government is stealing all those funds and using it on Hezbollah instead. You're coming to a person who doesn't give a shit about that regardless. But let's say I do. Let's say the Islamic Republic is taking all the funds and simply funneling it to Hezbollah and not actually using it to stabilize their economy. Okay, release the sanctions and they're going to continue doing that and the people are still going to be mad because the economy is not stabilized. That doesn't make any fucking sense, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. Because if that was your real concern, if that was your real concern about sanctions, and not that if you actually stop the sanctions, then the economic pressure will actually diminish, and therefore the economy of Iran will stabilize to a certain degree, and then the Islamic Republic will not be overthrown violently and militarily by the population, who will at least have some breathing room, right? The real reason why you're saying that is because you want the sanctions to continue because you want to punish the Iranian population for not successfully overthrowing the Ayatollah, okay? Because you don't think that the Iranian population has any smoke for the Ayatollah at all, or the Islamic Republic at all, beyond the economic problems. This is the other side of the way that leftists, ultra-leftists, or campus to a certain degree operate, where they're like, no, if there were no fucking economic sanctions whatsoever, then everyone will be happy. What is this? I believe Iranians are past the discussions of sanctions. If you disagree, then you can shut up, especially if you are a Turk. Well, good thing Hasan Piker is not talking to Iranians. He's talking to Americans about what America can do, unless you want the sanctions to stay. They do. They do want the sanctions to stay. And the only reason you are lib about this, to be honest, people in the region experienced the same hope for liberalism and secular democracy during the Arab Spring, and we fell for it, including me. Instead of all of our governments got replaced with even worse collaborators, the Middle East doesn't have space for that bullshit, and the youth in Iran are idiots if they think so, just like how me and all people like me were idiots at the time. I guess I have more belief that the Iranian population are more resilient in general to this kind of outside pressure. That's it. Because the Islamic Republic is also incompetent in some ways as well. I mean, I don't know how I would operate in a similar situation. I mean, there's so many fucking external pressures here. But they have also very clearly had issues with their domestic attitudes, with their domestic repression, and also their inability to maintain stability by looking for other trade partners, for example, or deepening their relationships with other trade partners that are growing around the globe. Okay? What I'm simply saying in the most basic ways, and people will get mad at me for saying this, especially Western leftists will get mad at me for saying this, but you can't have an unimaginably educated population with access to the fucking internet and then force them into doing dumb shit. I'm sorry, okay? You can call me a fucking Islamophobe if you want to, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't have an incredibly educated population with access to the fucking internet and then assume that they're not going to sit there and be like, well, okay, I want freedoms. Like, I want fucking civil liberties. What are we doing? That's it. It's not going to work. It literally is that basic. Now, is that the major factor here? No, but it's very clearly a major point of pressure. Okay? America, brother, we have unlimited treats in the United States of America, and you just said the Americans are well educated. Are you out of your fucking mind? Have you met the average American? Yes. That's such a brain dead take. Yeah. I don't even know what to say. You're preemptively defensive while saying it's because it's stupid supremacist thought. Yes, you're right. You're right. What do I always say? Yes, I'm doing supremacist thought, but this time it's not even American supremacist. It's actually Turkish supremacist thought. Anyway, what do you mean they would want freedom if they have internet? Like, I'm saying they have access to the rest of the fucking world. They want social liberties. It's totally understandable. It's totally understandable to want social liberties. Now, either you say no, if they let go of some of these like traditions and some of these mechanisms of oppression, then the base will fall out. Okay, and therefore they can't maintain their sovereignty. I believe that's the reason why the Islamic Republic behaves this way, not because they love the Quran and love Shia Islam ultimately, because actors like people who control entire governments have to first and foremost care about maintaining sovereignty. Okay, and the connective tissue here that legitimizes the Islamic Republic in the eyes of the base of support is their supposed incorruptibility. And the only way that you showcase incorruptibility in that part of the world is by maintaining an anti-Western attitude. And the way you maintain this incorruptible Western attitude, anti-Western attitude, is by showing your Islamic bona fides. Okay? That's it. Freedoms don't work in the Middle East. That's just the reality of things. No, that's not true, dude. What the fuck? That's a crazy, crazy supremacist. That is unironically supremacist. Freedoms just don't work in the Middle East. That's just the reality of things. It's crazy. Like, come on, dude. I get your point, but the youth are dumb and too hopeful when the hope doesn't exist where we are from. What do you think about the Shia-led government? Is it not similar to Syria? That's exactly what led to injustice. Syria is an even better fucking example of this because they weren't. Syria, the Syrian government was woke. Bitch, I'm Iraqi. I know. You can still be fucking racist to Arabs, dude. This is the type of shit that I would hear from like a Turkish supremacist. You know what I mean? Aren't you Kurdish? Do you feel the same way about the Kurds in the region too? Syria is an even better example of this because Syria was woke by the Islamic repression standards, but they still had a fuck ton of repression. They still had torture. They still had fucking the military being used against the population. Look how that fucking turned out. And a lot of that was still very much fomented by the United States of America. Barzanis and Talibanis take shit ton of money from the Americans to rule us. Anyway, why are these states so repressive? Why don't they just become more liberal? What do you mean? For them, okay. The other side of the story is the reason why they're repressive is because they are trying to maintain stability as Western forces are fomenting instability. And the more they're under attack by these powerful Western forces, the more they fucking harden their stances. Some countries are able to get away with it in different periods of time, and other countries are not. The ones who are not able to get away with it are the ones that suffer and the ones that turn into failed states. And the reason why I say this is, I mean, I'll give you an American example, right? Like the United States of America has talked about, maintaining the First Amendment. And yet during the Cold War, the First Amendment was out the fucking door, okay? During World War I and World War II, the First Amendment was out of the door. The moment that you talked about how we shouldn't go to war, like Eugene Debs famously did when he did not want America to intervene in World War I, as was the international Marxist position here, he was thrown in fucking prison, right? That's what happened. The Espionage Act was created to find treasonous people that were that would be assassinated, that would be executed by the state if they were actually working with America's enemies during times of war. So the reality of the matter is America itself, if America, the most powerful country on the planet, itself has taken such stringent repressive action at times during times of war, then what leads you to believe, why are people saying D? What leads you to believe that like other countries that are constantly under the thumb of American empire are not going to do that? Of course they are. Of course they're going to do it. I mean, we fucking interned Japanese people in this country, man. During World War II, we just like put them in concentration camps. Like, what the fuck do you think that was? I mean, that was transparently racist for the record. But like, what do you think America was doing during World War II? They put every Japanese person in a fucking concentration camp, in an internment camp. Because they were like, we can't trust them. And you're over here thinking like, oh man, how repressive are these countries that are under the fucking endless barrage of misinformation and war, right? Sure, but don't you think they're also repressive because they're no longer popular? I mean, this brings me back to the other Gulf states, as I brought up yesterday. What, you think Saudi people love that they only recently were able to have women drive cars and shit? No. Why didn't they actually do anything? Why haven't they actually had the same level of protest in Saudi Arabia? Do you think the Saudi government is not as repressive as the Iranian government is? It is. The only difference is America doesn't destroy the Saudi economy. Saudi Arabia is allowed to liberalize now in an effort to whitewash all the other stuff that they're doing in the region under the watchful gaze of the United States of America. Okay? How'd that happen? That's it. Why did the Marxists not want the U.S. to join World War II? No, that's not true. Well, I think initially they were non-interventionists, but most Marxists obviously were on board with American intervention in World War II. I said World War I. The international Marxist position in World War I was that there's no war but class war. This is all like, this is all imperial powers fighting amongst one another, divvying out their own colonial bounty. I mean, just pre-World War I is kind of when Marx had the most motion, to be honest. Yeah, it was a very different time. What, Iran did terrible things first and America sanctioned them after that? Like fucking took 52 American diplomats hostage? Brother, you are out of your mind. There is nothing that Iran has done to America that America has not done a millionfold to Iran. What are we talking about, dude? Also, Saudi Arabia did 9/11. The fuck do you mean? Like, one of the craziest things, one of the easiest ways to understand how powerful American propaganda is the fact that Saudi Arabia had a hand in 9/11 happening on U.S. soil. And then we went to the region and said, Everyone but Saudi Arabia is an op now, including Iran. The Axis of Evil speech famously factored Iran and North Korea into the conversation. And Iran was like, the fuck? What do you mean? We're mourning that 9/11 just happened. The guys that did 9/11 are our number one ops in the region. They're fucking Saudi-backed Salafist brigades. What the fuck? Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? And Americans did not even consider that. Americans have not even, to this day, considered that. If you ask Americans, probably more Americans think Iran did 9/11 than Saudi Arabia. It's fucking crazy. And then we sit here and act like we're not the most planet. It's the best propaganda because it's the most effective propaganda, because good propaganda doesn't even let you believe that you're reading propaganda. It makes you feel like you're learning the truth. That's how good propaganda works. Hasan, like now they got the Iranian government saying outside a terrorist group is killing people, not us. Like, come on, man. If anyone believes this shit, they have a potato in their brain. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't fucking real Iranian elements that are fighting back against the government with arms. Yeah, of course the government's going to say that. Every government lies. This government is lying. The Islamic Republic is lying. They're using truth. Like they're using what Israel is saying. That's why I said it's really interesting that Israel is like leaning into this shit. But they're using what Israel has said or what America has said as a justification for why they're fucking killing people. Okay? They're doing that. Average Americans just see Muslim region of the world and probably don't even understand the difference between Saudi and Iran. Is so easy. It's easy propaganda. Yes. Yeah, Cheney Rumsfeld admin plan to attack 7 countries: Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Somalia, and Lebanon. Anyway, so is it them being paranoid? I mean, it's also them wanting to violently suppress the protests so that the protests think twice before ever resisting militarily against the Islamic Republic. That's the reason why they're killing people. Okay?